Hey there, guys. Dragon Master here, and I want to welcome you to Star Wars and Earth Legends Episode 3, The Galactic Civil War. So, sorry I couldn't post yesterday on Saturday. I was sort of busy well, something came up, so I wasn't able to. I apologize for that one. So, yeah, it sort of relates to March break, which is coming up. I won't be doing any videos during March break as I have, well, it's sort of vacation time. I have plans. That's not the whole point. So, for episode 3, it's the Galactic Civil War, and then episode 4, we start to get more into after it, like the events after the Galactic Civil War of peace and prosperity and all that. Till, as you know, a few small wars break up between the Jedi and Sith, and then we move on to the war, at least the war before the Yuuzhan Vong Wars. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. We start our journey off currently at Earth, as the Terran fleet is currently gathering for the operation. The Terrans are ready for what is to come next, as the rebels call it, Operation Empire's Fall. They, along with the Terrans, plan to slowly destroy the Empire its military power, and force them to the negotiation tables. With even after Palpatine's death, a few prominent leaders have risen to power, one of them Gallius Rax. Along with Admiral Dallas and a few other names, Massa Muda has taken over Coruscant and is currently the one in power, even though riots have broken out there. The Terrans are aware of what is to come. Many on the fleet know that they might not come back, as one of their first operations is to attack Kuat. The Terrans will be the ones attacking Kuat, as is one of the Empire's major, shipyards. The Terrans earlier had already helped the Corellians drive off the Imperials from their world. Corellia was safe now, and since Kuat was in the Inner Rim, the core world, they had a prime spot to attack. The rebels would mostly focus on certain worlds in the mid to outer rim, while the Terrans focused in the inner rim and core worlds. Their first target was Kuat. Their second target was Empress Teta. And their third and final target will be Byss. So the Terran fleet immediately goes into hyperspace. So after a few days, they arrive at Kuat, and a major battle happens. Kuat is a heavily guarded system, after all. It is one of the Empire's major shipping yards, so there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Imperial vessels. The Terran fleet is made up of hundreds of vessels, and both Imperial and Terran forces immediately clash, as fighters, dropships, and many other vessels shuttlecraft fly all across the Kuat rings, trying to gain ground. The Terran launch boarding parties in the Kuat rings and also on the surface of the Kuat rings. Darth Vader was good enough to provide them with crucial intel on Kuat, on certain places they could exploit, and certain places where future Imperial designs are made. The Terrans use this to target those those places, to gain the information, send in secret agents to scout it out, and then inform the troops how to make it through. The battle is bloody and goes on for at least 2 months. Those 2 months are a bitter battle for the Terrans, as hundreds, if not millions, of them are killed. But at the end of the day, the Terrans are victorious. Kuat has been successfully taken. Thrawn's leadership had helped them through. Thrawn would later tell Shepard that this was one of the hardest battles he had to command, as the Empire was dug in well in Kuat, and even still there were still small places of resistance where the Imperials still lurked. Of course, the Terrans would leave a decent garrison force to fight off any Imperial incursions. So the Terrans would fuel up, get their ships ready, and then head off to Empress Teta. As about a week ago, the Terrans had begun one of their major operations. As I've already explained before in the canon timeline, the Terrans had sent spies in to more or less destabilize the Imperial government and also turn the Empress Teta population, like the common people, against them, not the nobles or people who support the Empire. This works, and as the original timeline, the Terrans are able to take Empress Teta much easily. With this said, one of their final challenges rests ahead, Byss. Darth Vader having told them that Byss was where Palpatine had many clones of himself in his citadel. The Terrans were planning on basically using one of their new super weapons. The Terrans knew even though super weapons were dangerous, they had use. And that is why the Terrans had built an what is it? An apocalypse class ship as a super weapon. This ship had a powerful laser which could scorch the surface of a planet, turn it into a volcanoous sort of landscape similar to Mustafar. This apocalyptic ship had been in ever since the Empire had taken over. This vessel, along with the fleet, made their jump to Byss. Darth Vader had informed them that it would be a while before Palpatine's clones would come out of their pods. The Terrans, knowing that they had to act quickly, had already sent ships to basically make sure that no ship left the system. This, of course, had resulted in a few of their small scouting parties being destroyed, but it was worth it. So the Terrans would launch their attack. The apocalyptic ship, which I'm going to name Armageddon, the Armageddon ship got into position a few days later after intense fighting. As surprisingly, the Imperials realized what the Terrans were up to, and knew what they were about to do. So they had made sure that the apocalyptic ship Armageddon could not get to a good position to fire its weapon. The weapon, of course, would fire, and would scorch Byss, turning much of the planet into a rocky and sort of lava wasteland. This, of course, would not sit well with the rebels when they found out about what the Terrans had done. But the Terrans justified in saying that Palpatine would for eternally ever be dead. This, of course, was a good answer, but it wasn't the answer they sort of wanted. But they respected their wishes, but they said that they were not allowed to use that on any more worlds. The Terrans, of course, argued, but agreed that they would keep the Armageddon ship away out of the battlefield, knowing that the Empire would try to capture it. So it was sent back to Thrawn's personal fortress world he had. With this said, the Terrans, after having taken 3 important worlds and after months of fighting, the Terrans were finally ready to do their final assault. Coruscant, the galaxy's crown jewel. They knew that Coruscant was currently weak, as it had had to send ships out, as the Terrans had been fighting all across the inner and core worlds. And with the Terrans keeping the Empire distracted in the inner rim and core worlds, it'd been easier for the rebels to take planets. So the Terrans would gather one of the biggest fleets in the galaxy's history, hundreds of vessels, from many of the worlds that had joined them to the rebels, to every world that supported the rebels and their alliance, along with many civilizations that had joined the Terrans, along with separatist ships, Mandalorian ships. Heck, even the Hutts joined them. This would be one of the largest assault fleets in galactic history, made up of thousands of vessels for one biggest assault. One of the biggest battles in galactic history was about to take place. The Terrans knew it would be a long, bloody fight. And a bloody fight it was. Even though with many of the Imperial ships gone from Coruscant, it was still a big fight. But at the end of the day, the Terrans were able to breach, well, I guess the big fleet alliance was able to breach the planetary shields that Coruscant had along, break through its defenses, and launched ships and fighters. Surprisingly, this battle only took 2 weeks, but the Terrans realized with the people's support, it was much easier, as the Empire was distracted after all. The fight ended with many people dead on both sides. But it had worked. They had captured the Emperor's palace, which had mostly been surprisingly abandoned. They had captured every major site in the Empire's, well, every Imperial base on Coruscant. Surprisingly, Mas Ameda was at the Senate building. But surprisingly, Mas Ameda was very scared, which surprised the Terrans, on how fearful he was. They were almost curious on why. Masamoto said that, after a bit of interrogation, that there was a super star destroyer buried under the Senate building, which surprised them. They immediately evacuated. They asked who was in charge of this. The IA's best leader, as I can't say her name, I'll just call her the ISB leader. She is currently taking the super star destroyer and head into hyperspace, but the Terrans intercept her. The Terrans fire their super weapon Armageddon, which they had kept in reserve, just in case the Empire had any super star destroyers. They fire the weapon. The weapon vaporizes the super star destroyer and killing the ISBIS leader, Yursura Izer. I can't say her name, honestly. She is killed off, which is a big change in Legends, as she is supposed to be in the future, but that's changed. With her death and the Super Star Destroyer destroyed and with Massamid in their custody, the Battle of Coruscant is all but over. The Galactic Civil War has come, more or less, pretty much one more step to a close, and that is where we're going to leave it off. So yeah, this was a long chapter. So I don't really have anything else to say, but yeah. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos as much as I am, and without further ado, goodbye.